Hello, hello. Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 33-year veteran creator of comic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And it is Monday, April 14th, 2025. That means it's Monday Manga Day. And we're going to talk about Cowboy Bebop. As you can see, I'm wearing the Faye Valentine shirt. I've got my Ed and Ein little doll that a female friend of mine gave me many, many years ago. The gift. So we are already here. And then here's Chris Hall, my co-host is in the chat. Okay, got quite a bit to talk about. Let's go ahead and start with Cowboy Bebop, the complete manga collection from Tokyopop. Creator Shinichiro Watanabe, writer Hajime Yatade, with translation by Amy Forsyth, art by Yutaka Nanton, editors Stephanie Donnelly and Robert Coiner. This was originally released between March and August of 2002. Those are the first three books, or the 3-2-1 that you see on the right side of the box set. And then there's Shooting Star Volumes 1 and 2. The artist was Kane Kuga, based off of a concept by Hajime Yatade, translation by Yuki Nakamura and Owen Thomas, with art retouch and lettering by Mona Lisa de Assis. This is all, we got our things screwed up here. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see what's going on here. This should not be there. Oh dear. All right, let me see what's going on here. Why they got my numbers all messed up here. Okay, I got it right. Okay. All right. Shooting Star is, of course, volumes 1 and 2 on the left, and it says continue, but it was my misunderstanding what I was writing there. Anyway, what it's about. This 5-volume edition box set collects 23 chapters of all new adventures, the bounty hunting crew of Spike Spiegel, Jet Black, Faye Valentine, and Edward Wong. And don't forget Ein. Not following the continuity of the anime, there are elements of storyline that will contradict the animated series, but the stories were overall approved by Sunrise and series creator Shinichiro Watanabe. In volume 1, the first story, it's showtime. Spike, Jet, and Faye have all tracked different bounties to the same restaurant, but learn that they're all chump change until Faye spots a serial killer named Lester Lynn with a 5 million Wulong reward. Let's hope they bring back presents for Ed and Ein. And We Will Rock You. And I love this. All the names of the short stories here are based off of either band names or song titles or album titles. So anyway, in We Will Rock You, Jet gets a lead on a criminal named Sydney, who has a 30 million Wulong bounty and a flair for cosmetic surgery. But there's a problem. Sydney is in jail under a false identity. So Spike has to take one for the team and get himself arrested in an elaborate scheme to break the bounty out of jail to collect the reward for bringing him back to jail. And I think this was actually maybe an adaptation into something that was done in the comics or in the anime. I don't remember for sure. It's been a while. In Cheap Trick, a real and very bored man named David Jackson, also known as Nowhere Man, has placed a 60 million Wulong bounty on himself for the first female bounty hunter that can catch him. Faye jumps at the opportunity and drags Ed along for the ride, but is this Nowhere Man making nowhere plans for Faye or someone else? In Black Diamond, Faye has a new bounty on her head for her own criminal activities before she became a bounty hunter, and Jet and Spike are brought down to the ISSP for questioning. Will they turn against their partner for a few million Wulongs? The conspiracy unravels and takes Jet back to his days where he was known as Black Dog. In Volume 2, the stories include She's a Rainbow. Rachel M. Kazuki, a reporter for NBC TV, wants to do a feature on bounty hunters, or as she calls them, outlaw heroes, rebels on the edge of society. Faye negotiates a deal with Rachel, allowing her to interview the crew of the Bebop for a price, but when a bounty comes up, Rachel wants to be first on the scene. In The Great Deceiver, When Jet's old ISSP friend, Bob, gives the crew a lead on a new bounty, it becomes a personal job for Faye because the perp is Linda Wise, the woman who taught Faye how to become a hustler and con artist. She used to say that the first rule of hustling was win your keep and move on. And in Bebop Special Short, Jet gets a cold and no one knows how to cure him. Spike and Faye go searching for scallions on Earth to help Jet, but instead they get chased through a swamp and catch colds of their own, which is quite funny. And in Thinking Bird, Happy Song, Jet takes Edward shopping for food, but she gets hungry and tries to eat an old man's pet bird in the marketplace. Turns out, however, that an assassin has been commissioned to kill the same old man, and Edward foils his plans without even realizing it. In Like a Rolling Stone, Spike goes on a Wild West town and meets an enchanting guitar player named Allison who offers to help him find his next bounty, her deadbeat father. And in Volume 3, we get 2 longer tales. In What's Your Number? Computer are crashing all over Mars, leaving only a frozen image of a large X over the planet. The ISSP is investigating the computer virus, and Big Shot reports a record-setting 50 million Wulong bounty. I don't know how it's a record-setting when they already had 60 million on another one, but that's what they say in the story. There's a bounty on the mysterious net diver, and it's Radical Edward. But on the Bebop, Edward is nowhere to be found, and a kid named Tomato contacts Jet, Spike, and Faye trying to find Dad to clear her name. Meanwhile, Edward is captured and taken to a ship, but this is Edward we're talking about, and her captors will find out and discover that she's no pushover. And lastly, in Fight for Your Right, a happy-go-lucky trucker named Mike Yamada is having a busy day. First, he escorts a monster from Mars to Venus in record time using a secret shortcut and gets paid 500,000 Wulong to keep quiet about the trip. But then he escorts Spike and his latest bounty catch from Venus back to Mars using that same shortcut. Oops. Spike knows something is wrong when a ship starts to open fire on them. Could they be using a dark astral gate? Now, this is just the first 3 books. There's 2 more to talk about, but I received this box set as either a Christmas or a birthday present from a friend back in 2002 or 2003, along with the action figure and some other related merch. Or not the action figure, but the little figurine here, the stuffed character here of Ed 9. And this is a $39.99 box set price. This has basically become one of my most sought after collectibles in my collection because today at auction sites it can sell for as high as $2,500. I'm like, what? I was not expecting that. I was just looking for the price to see what the original price of the box set was, and I was just like looking at the prices on auction. I was just like, "You're kidding me, right?" So I hadn't looked at this set in quite a while. Someone asked me, "Do I have the Tokyopop floppies?" I know I had them that these are collections of, and maybe I still do. But essentially, those were just chapter pieces, and all the stories were collected in this edition, so that's why I'm reviewing this one. And for those who don't know, it's right here to my side over here on you guys can't see it because the camera's not going to move where it wants to move. So I've got the physical box set right here, and I'll show it to you in a little bit here. Anyway, story was a fun revisit, but did the work of these creators really capture the flavor and style of Watanabe's anime? I'm not so sure. Yutaka Naten's art is solid, but it's quite different from the source designs from the anime. He tends to make Spike look a little bit too effeminate at times, in my opinion, particularly in the face. On the other hand, he does a really good job with Faye throughout the books, and he captures that tomboy girl in Edward fairly well also. The stories themselves are pretty much standard, though they do deviate from the anime in how their relationships operate. Faye is much more, I guess I would say, aggressive in this series. By that I mean she's more proactive and more competitive with Spike and Jet, sometimes even taking charge of a situation that you would not likely have seen her do in the anime under Watanabe's lead. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though. I like Faye. I've always felt that in the anime, her character was given a little bit of short shrift, as Spike was typically the focal character. But since these stories are not necessarily part of the quote-unquote canon of the TV series, it's hard to say how well Hajime Yatate's stories really fit overall. So I just take them as individual stories, and I think they're a lot of fun. And I wouldn't mind seeing a re-release of these for modern audiences, because these books have been out of print for quite some time, apparently. And I give the 3 books for that creative team 4 out of 5 stars. But let's take a quick look at that so you guys can see a little bit of what I mean about kind of being a little bit effeminate there. You see how he's kind of got those. It doesn't really look like Spike in the anime per se. He's got a lot bigger eyes, more of a feminine face than what he does in the anime. It doesn't mean it's bad. It still looks good. It just looks a little bit different. But Faye in her costume, not showing her who she really is. And Ed looks good. Good facial expression with Ed with her tongue out there, trying to do whatever she's got to do with the computer there. This is a little more accurate to how they look more so in the anime. You can see Spike here, his face doesn't look quite as soft. It looks a little more masculine in the jawline as he got more comfortable with the characters. And of course, they have the big shot duo there that you're watching. They do a good job with that. So, pretty good stuff overall. Okay. Now, Shooting Star was actually the first 2 books, and I just didn't realize that when I was reading them, so I wrote them up differently. I'm going to go ahead and put number 1 book back in the box set. Pull out the Shooting Stars. This is a different art team. This is Ken Kuga, but as I said, now what Shooting Star is about. Nearly 20 years ago, the Earth was devastated in a catastrophic accident that left the solar system politically unstable. Basically, this is the beginning of the series. The wealthy moved to other planets, poor stayed on a desolate Earth, and crime in its myriad forms spread everywhere. In the wake of this, professional bounty hunter became a staple of interplanetary terrain, snatching elusive criminals for wads of cash. However, such a lucrative trade caused many into its folds. Thus, the field became overcrowded, much to the chagrin of hapless Spike Spiegel and jet black high-class bounty hunters with low-class luck. When a child genius computer hacker, Ed, and a femme fatale amnesiac, Faye Valentine, join the team, things then begin to look up for them. But how good can things get when you're living in the shadow of a mafia past? As the Bebop crew forms a unit and really turns into a found family of sorts in their crazy adventures, they run into modern-day Robin Hood, who has designs on thwarting the taxation practices of an unyielding government, whether or not there's a method to their madness. The crew wiggles out of that debacle right into the crossfire of a Dragonhead rivalry, in which their old friend, the Scorpion, resurfaces for a little blackmail and kidnapping. However, Scorpion may be more than he or the Bebop crew knows, and who he is may make him a target for the Dragonhead Syndicate. Back in the doldrums of bounty hunting, Ed's attempt at retrofitting a nearby satellite with a receiver that enables the Bebop to monitor bounty activity more closely ends in that satellite exploding, and that begins another Bebop adventure, because now Ed is wanted for criminal mischief, at least, and if not outright, mass sabotage. What did I think of this? I think I preferred Kane Kuga's art style and design work over Nanton's back when I originally received the set in the early 2000s. But now, having revisited the books, I feel like Kuga's line weight differentials are lacking. He's very uniform in his art style. And I like it's more wispy, more very narrow, very thin lines. And I kind of like what Nanton was doing with the weight and depth of his line weight a bit more now than I did when I was younger. And back then I was admittedly a lot less familiar with manga as a whole. So I had to get a little bit of different taste for the whole of the genre. While the story is also a collection of shorts, there's a stronger through line, so to speak, connecting them than what Nanton books had. This is probably because Shooting Star was the first storylines done, and I suspect that creator Shinichiro Watanabe was a little more hands-on in control of the narrative than on the later Nanton books, because by then he trusted Yatade to know how to write the characters more freely. So these two books feel a little more akin to the anime, but it also feels a little more restrictive compared to the Nanton books in terms of the characterization. It feels like the writer got to do a little more open-ended stuff with the later books. Now, I can't really say which subgroup of stories is quote-unquote better. I see different aspects of the art and story styles and have a much greater appreciation in terms of favoring one style over another than I did when I first got the collection back in 2002 or 2003. I don't remember what I thought back then, because it's been 20 years. But I probably like the Shooting Star stuff more because it's closer to the anime. And I like the Kuga style more so than the Nanton style back then as well. But I give all of it 4 stars. Let's take a quick look at the series. And you'll see there's a completely different look for Spike. And I actually got some pages where his line weights are actually pretty thick. I pulled out. That's pretty good. But there's other pages where it's really, really thin. Let me see if I can go to earlier pages. Can you see what I mean about the villain's hair is really thin and wispy, and their line weights for all the bodies are pretty symmetrical and similar in line weight. It doesn't help them build proper weight and depth perception in the pages in some of those earlier pages in the story. He does get better throughout the book, though. But again, this looks, he doesn't look anything like the anime in this case. Alrighty. So again, I give both of those 4-star, or all the books 4 stars across the boards. And there's more to talk about a little bit. Revisit of my review of the Titan Comics miniseries that was based off the live action edition that appeared on Netflix, which no, I still haven't seen it yet. I don't have Netflix, unfortunately, so I haven't had a chance to find it. And who knows if it's even there anymore. They could have taken it off the air by now. But we're going to talk about 1 through 4, but I've only got 1 through 3 here. It was written by Dan Waters with artists by Lamar Mathurin and colors by Roman Titov, lettering by Richard Starkings and Jimmy Betancourt. Genre science fiction, originally released in February through May of 2022. The story arc was Supernova Swing, and in the year 2071, Earth is uninhabitable and humanity has colonized most planets and moons in the solar system. Amid a rising crime rate, the Intersolar System Police, that's the ISSP, have set up the legalized contract system with registered bounty hunters. This is the crew of the spaceship Bebop, Black Spiegel, and Valentine, and they are a group of such cowboys, and the story follows. This is based, of course, on the TV version of this. And the covers look pretty good. They look like the actors who played the film in the show. I don't know how people reacted to that though, because it's quite a different thing from seeing the anime version versus a live action version of the characters. So I don't know how people reacted to that. Storyline. On the trail of a fugitive named Melville, the Bebop crew track him down to a casino on Mars. Thinking they have him dead to rights, somehow Melville escapes them using a vest that creates probability fluxes where Faye's gun unexpectedly jams and makes a leap out of a window that he cannot possibly normally survive. Frustrated by the failure, the trio regroup at the Bebop ship and get in touch with Jet's police contact. Meanwhile, on the Big Shot Bounty TV show, the program the crew watches to get a beat on potential criminals to track, it's revealed to them that the vest is what helped Melville's escape. Cut to Melville, pardon me, who has been tracked down by the Syndicate, a criminal organization that helped finance said vest, but then Melville escapes them as well. The crew find a lead and realize that Melville is on a moon known as Silene and head out for it. There they discover that the atmosphere from the terraforming leaves you in a drunken haze, and anyone that lives there is basically too out of it to care much about anything, as they're basically happy drunks. Spike meets Melville's scientific partner, who has another vest. Spike agrees to make a trade for the vest, but doesn't realize that Jet's cop buddy is on a take and has followed them. He plans to steal the vest for whoever he's working for, assumingly he's corrupt a cop working for the Syndicate. But then at that point in the storyline, it had not been revealed or explicitly stated and presented. That was revealed in issue 4. As the crew try to get the noodles, so to speak, every bouncer is on the make for them and having been told that Jet contact that they have Melville. Because cowboys have no moral code, they will steal bounties from each other for enough cash. So they had now had to fight off multiple hunter crews, even though they don't have them. And they learn that Jet's contact set them up. And when we cut back to Selene, where said cops kills Melville's partner and steals a second quantum vest for himself and the Syndicate. Again, when I wrote this, there was one more issue left. I'm not going to reveal the final because it's been too long since I read the 4th issue. But it was all interesting. Character designs were akin again to the live action version. But Mothman's art is okay. Not my favorite art style I've seen, but there's certainly nothing wrong with it. It doesn't really represent what's on the covers, though. The story by Dan Waters is well conceived and feels very much in the vein of the classic manga and anime, if a bit Americanized. I look forward to seeing issue 4 and the conclusion, and I did like the conclusion, if I remember correctly. But unfortunately, the live action show did poorly and was canceled, so this might be the only stuff we ever see in this version. It is 16 and up because of different themes and stuff going on, whereas the regular Bebops, the mangas are 13 and up. It's not quite as good as the mangas. I'll give it a 3.5. Let's take a quick look at the art. And as you can see, this is so far away from anything that the anime or the mangas were doing. But it's not like the stuff looks horrible. It's just different. And there's another one, and there's our usual with Spike just beating everybody up. And there you have it, folks. Again, really good stuff overall. If you can find these online in a box set for less than $300, good luck. The actual books that are usually like $9.99 on cover are going anywhere from $25 to $30 minimum. I've seen go as high as $100 for individual issues on these sites. I know they've been out of print for a long time. I don't understand though why it's that high. I kind of wish that Tokyopop would put them out again, a new edition, just to kind of like get the prices back down to something normal that people can afford. But who knows? It's a nice little box set. And there's the other side of it. Yeah, thoughts, Chris? I know you're in the hall in the chat room there. No, I'm not getting anything quite yet. I don't know, but that's all for tonight. I think for the discussion of that. Tomorrow we will have our Indie Talk night, crowdfunding Indie Talk. We'll be reviewing a lot of content from Antarctic Press, who are celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. From individual series to anthologies, we'll also be discussing their recent crowdfunding efforts. Our guests will be Ben Dunn, the founder or co-founder of Antarctic Press, Tom Hutchinson, Big Dog Inc., who's doing his book Critter, Tripping Back Through Antarctic. And we might even have some possibly more folks that will be joining myself and Chris Hall to celebrate this venerable publisher. And some of the books we'll be talking about tomorrow include Ninja High School, Goblin 5 2022, Exciting Comics, Jungle Comics, Fantasy Comics, Planet Comics, Horror Comics, the aforementioned Critter, and Tomorrow Girl. And possibly more as well. That'll be tomorrow, March 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this Thursday, we'll have our weekly review night as John Figueroa Norris rejoins the show. We'll be talking about Shudder, number 21, Green Lantern Corps, number 3, DC Horror Presents Creatures Commandos 6, finishing up that series, Power Lords, number 3, finishing up that series from Oni in the Sallyverse, Jump Scare, number 2, from Dark Horse, the graphic novels E-Junkie and the Secret of Ravens, Destroying Angel Lumen, which is a crowdfunded book by Tony McMillan, and the Santos sisters, which Chris and I discovered while we were reviewing some other books, and we're like, what is that? And I happened to find a copy of it, so I bought it just to see what it was. And we'll talk about those. And John will be talking about some books that I think he's got Herculoids and Metamorpho and a few other things as well. So quite a bit going on Thursday. And then on Friday, we'll be visiting what I call verse. Both in the animated series and the modern day Disney as Marvel characters, What If comics. That's what we'll be talking about on Friday. Okay. And so, well, thank you for watching. And give me a second here while my stupid machine does what it's doing. Let's see. It's where I want it to be. It probably isn't. Nope, it isn't. Of course not. So it'd have to be somewhere else. There we go. All right. If you want to reach out to me on social media, Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, at the Muskrat channel known as X, at LewisBrightRaven2, LewisBrightRave2, I should say. And then deviantart.com/BrightRaven to see my artwork. And then watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, suggestions for books that you'd like me and the guys to review, Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com is the place to reach out to me. If I don't get back to you, try Lewis Bright Raven at yahoo.com. That's all for this week, or for tonight, I should say. We'll see you tomorrow when we talk with Ben Dunn and Tom Hutchinson, celebrating Antarctic Press. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.